Most people think Kenya's transformation is happening in one place, one city, one skyline, one headline at a time. But look closer, and a different picture begins to emerge. Across the country, massive projects are rising simultaneously. Stadiums where there was open land, highways cutting across regions once separated by hours, ports, rail lines, energy corridors, entire districts all under construction at once. This isn't a single development story. It's not one project or one city trying to grow. It's something much larger. Because when you step back far enough, you realize Kenya isn't just expanding. It's being restructured quietly, deliberately, at scale, and while most people only notice one project at a time, the real story lies in how all of them connect. This film is not about hype, it's not about politics, and it's not about promises. It's about what is actually being built right now, and how these mega projects are collectively transforming Kenya into something very different from what it was just a decade ago. So make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates like this. And if you're new here, welcome to the channel. The scale of construction becomes clear the moment you move beyond the capital. In Nairobi, cranes dominate the skyline, but they don't stop there. Far beyond the city, entire transport corridors are taking shape. Routes that don't simply connect towns but redefine how regions interact. The Nairobi Expressway was only the beginning. What followed was a shift in how infrastructure is designed faster, wider, and built for volume that didn't previously exist. These roads aren't just about traffic relief. They are about positioning. Because one movement becomes faster, everything else follows: logistics, housing, commerce, and investments. And Kenya has been quietly building the foundations for exactly that. As transport expands, so does ambition. In the heart of Nairobi, Talanta Sports City is rising, not as a standalone stadium, but as part of a much larger vision. This isn't just about hosting matches. It's about creating infrastructure capable of handling global events, international audiences, and long-term economic activity. The scale mirrors facilities seen in countries that made similar investment decades earlier, not just for sports, but for branding, tourism, and global relevance. What makes Talanta significant isn't only its size, it's timing. Because while many nations plan for the future, Kenya is building for it now. And Talanta is not alone. Across the country, stadium projects are emerging as part of broader push to modernize public infrastructure. Each one serves a local purpose, but together they signal something bigger. A country preparing for visibility on a much larger stage. So make sure you like, subscribe, and I will keep giving you more updates like this. And if you're new here, subscribe and stay tuned and turn on that notifications for more updates. So beyond sports, energy projects stretch across vast distances. Geothermal fields in the Rift Valley continue to expand, quietly positioning Kenya as one of Africa's clean energy leaders. These facilities don't draw crowds. They don't trend on social media, but they power everything else: factories, cities, transit systems, and as energy capacity grows, so does industrial potential. This is the kind of infrastructure that really gets attention, yet shapes the economy for generations. Then there's the Standard Gauge Railway, a project that sparked debate, headlines, and controversy, but also fundamentally altered how goods and people move across the region. Regardless of opinion, its impact is undeniable. It reduced travel times, shifted logistics patterns, and redefined regional trade routes. What matters now isn't how it began, but how it integrates into what's being built next. Because infrastructure doesn't work in isolation. It compounds. At the coast, port expansion continues. The port of Mombasa remains one of East Africa's most critical gateways, and upgrades have transformed into a far more efficient hub. But further south, Lamu Port represents something different. A long-term bet. A future-facing project designed not just for today's demand, but for tomorrow's trade routes. Ports are statements. They say we expect volume. They say we are positioning ourselves, and Kenya is making that statement clearly. As transport, energy, and trade infrastructure rise, cities begin to respond. New districts form, peripheral areas densify, and land values shift. What was once considered outside the city slowly becomes central. This is visible in Nairobi, but it's happening elsewhere too. Secondary cities are expanding, urban layouts are changing. Kenya is no longer growing around a single center, it's developing multiple nodes, and that changes everything. Technology infrastructure quietly weaves through it all. Fiber networks, data centers, digital corridors, and these aren't always visible, but they are essential. Modern economies don't run only on concrete, they run on connectivity. And as Kenya continues to digitize, it strengthens its position not just regionally, but globally. What makes this movement unique isn't any single project, it's the synchronization. Transport enabling trade, energy enabling industry, stadiums enabling global visibility, and cities expanding to absorb it all. This is how nations transition faces. Not overnight, not with one announcement, but through years of layered construction that eventually reaches critical mass. By the time most people realize what's happened, the transformation is already complete. Kenya is approaching that moment, where infrastructure is no longer the story, but the platform. So make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates. And if you're loving this documentary, let me know down on the comment section. Which part of this documentary do you like the most? And which project do you think will transform Kenya in the future? So the real question isn't whether Kenya is changing. That much is obvious. The question is what comes next. Once all these projects are finished, connected, and fully operational. Because when a country builds at this scale, it isn't just preparing for growth. It's defining the role it wants to play in the future, and Kenya is quickly making that decision one mega project at a time. Kenya is undergoing one of the largest infrastructure transformation in its history. This documentary explores the mega project rising across the country, from transport and energy to stadiums and cities, and how they are all collectively reshaping Kenya's future. So which of these mega projects do you think will have the biggest impact on Kenya's future, and why? So share your thoughts down below and let us know what you think of all these mega projects. And don't forget that each project has a timeline, and soon everything will be expected to be completed within a certain period of time. So across Kenya, something unusual is happening, and this is not taking place in one city, but everywhere all at once. We have the stadiums rising, we have the highways, we have the ports, the rails, and all are rising simultaneously, and people don't just see these projects. When you step back, you'll see a picture of how all this is coming together to a bigger and massive infrastructure happening within the capital. So these are some of the projects that people will remember in the future. And as they all take place, we are slowly seeing Nairobi transition from what it was once before to something very new and something very modernized.